Welcome, everybody. As promised, we have a special guest on for the first 15 minutes of our call, a dear friend now who I'm looking forward to meeting for coffee this week to celebrate a huge milestone, 40 pounds down in her weight loss, including Corona. And just a few things that I want to note before she tells her story is that she did start with private coaching. But actually, she started getting the TV mindset and struggling to actually watch the videos, then got private coaching. And then during Corona, even when she moved away from private coaching, really continued on her own. We were in contact, but really owned the rest of her journey, and still more great stuff to come. She's the beautiful, amazing, fantastic, and inspiring Gabrielle Hodes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So this is my first time actually in a meeting. I do sometimes listen to the recordings, but I've never come in and joined. So maybe this will be the first of many. And thank you very much to Lily for helping me and getting me started on this journey and always being there to support me. What can I tell you? I have been on every diet there is up until this time. Have always done, I always used to say, great at losing and amazing at putting it all back on plus more. So I have lost this amount of weight in the past, but I have regained it plus. And I feel that this time it is different, and I hope and pray that it will be. I think for me, first of all, just seeing all of you guys and being part of the Facebook group, and especially seeing Lily and Ayelet, how hard you work and how real the struggles are. I think for me, first of all, that's one, I think, huge thing that shifted for me. I think I always imagined that the people who lost it were just different to me, and that I don't know, their story and how it went was different, and it wasn't. I think Ayelet, you once posted a picture of ups and the getting up looks like that, and that it's not just a smooth journey. And I think for me, just to realize that I'm normal and that that's how it is, and that there are hard days and easier days, helped me immensely. And just seeing the immense courage and hard work that you all do helped me to put that hard work in as well. I think the biggest thing that jumps to mind for me that was a bit different was the all or nothing thinking. Again, in the past, I managed to keep my weight off for a year or two at a time. And I always, whenever I went back to the next time and I would tell my story, it was always a certain event. I was running a conference, I was presenting at something, some huge event was happening. Clearly, I was overwhelmed, overworked, pressurized, didn't leave time for me, and I don't know, organized the food for everybody, hadn't thought about myself. I ate something and then that was it, my story always started like that. Whenever I'd lost the diet, it was that something had happened, and I opened the tap and I couldn't stop myself. Somehow I couldn't return to the way I had been eating before. And this time, somehow that was just different. First of all, I don't feel like I'm on a diet. And I think for me and my personality type, that is so important. So when people ask me what diet I'm doing, or what can I eat, I can eat anything I want to eat, and I really don't feel like I'm on a diet. So that has just got me into a routine of eating meals, which I think I neglected to do before. I just wouldn't eat, I would just snack, and now I actually am eating meals, and that's affected just my whole productivity as well. And I work from home. I'm a speech and language therapist and a Kala teacher and an intimacy coach. So I work from home and see clients in my house. And so my kitchen is next to my office. So between every client, my automatic action was walk into the kitchen, check my WhatsApps and go and find some food. And that would be my general go-to behavior. And the fact that I managed to change that, and that when Pesach came along and I did gain pounds, that straight after Lily sent me the detox, and I did the detox for 3 days, dropped off all the Pesach weight, and then carried on losing. And that was like miraculous to me. Like I'd never thought that I could do that. It was like in the past I would eat terribly over Pesach, and then I would continue to eat terribly. So realizing that I didn't have to follow that pattern, and I could just say, okay, that was, and now I'm moving forward. It was a huge
And
a huge difference
transitioning,
for me.
also taking the step to transition from private coaching to going back to doing it on your own, and that confidence is something, you know, I want for all my private clients. I always say, I want your referrals, not your repeat business.
Right. Right. Yeah, no, so that's definitely true. I think for me, Corona was an amazing time. I know everyone responded to Corona in a different way, but for me, I feel like I had time to listen to podcasts, and to listen to more of the videos, and just to take time for me and not judge myself. I'm normally someone who has to be busy, busy, busy all the time, and it was okay to sit and read a book or to listen and to make that time for myself every day. So I actually think for me, Corona was helpful. And then I've been paying for the Beachbody since the beginning, since September. I think it's right. I think I signed in September, only started working with Lily in December, and so I just had 3 months of membership that went down the drain because I didn't watch anything or do anything. And then I was paying for all this exercise, but again, I was someone who never does exercise videos. That's not me. In the past, I've gone to the gym, or maybe I've gone for a walk. And then during Corona, all of a sudden, I saw my kids doing Insanity every day because everybody was home, and there was this big family Insanity gathering. And of course, I didn't join in because that's not me. And, you know, I didn't want to be doing it with them when I couldn't, it looked way too hard for me. But something clicked that I can do this. And me and my husband, and he happens to be a physical therapist, so it's been quite good working with him. And we started off with a 21-day fix. He gets me up at 6 o'clock every morning, and I'm not normally, Lily can testify. We used to meet at 8 a.m. Was it 8 or 8:30? 8 a.m. on Sunday mornings. I literally rolled out of bed in my pajamas into our meetings. It's my one day when I don't work. And now I'm getting up at around 6. Thanks mamash to my husband, because I keep on thinking I can do it alone, but I realize that the days that he doesn't get me up as much as I try, I find it incredibly difficult. And we went from 21-day fix, which was amazing, and now we're on week 6 of lift 4. And it's like, who am I? As I'm talking, I'm like, is this really me? Like, as someone who never lifted weights, I'm lifting 4 kilos, sometimes 8 kilo, like that's crazy. And but it's happening, and I've actually got muscles in my arms which I never knew existed. And
That's how you know a woman is a Beachbody woman.
Right. So yeah, so we're doing that, and I'm trying to walk. After Corona, when I went back to seeing clients, I decided to make me time and not start at 8 a.m. every day. So I actually now start later on a Monday, so that on Friday, Motzei Shabbos, Sunday, and Monday I can do a workout and a walk, and then on my other 3 days when I do start at 8, I can get a walk in at least before I start. And yeah, that's.
So I know you have somewhere to be. So just a few questions. Anybody, you guys have any questions in the chat? Put them in the chat box for Gabrielle. But Gabrielle, I know you started using Shakeology, and I don't think you're still using it, right? Because you finished what you had. How was that experience?
No.
Oh, still drinking it?
I am still using it.
So how was that experience for you? Did that was that a positive experience that you added into your journey?
For sure.
Were you skeptical first? Because I think that's also a big part of it. Like I know Lily and I also both were skeptical in the beginning. And so how did that play in from maybe not having Shakeology to yes, having Shakeology, and where you also see the benefits?
So I think that at the beginning, first of all, I tasted it the first time and I didn't make it right, and I thought it was foul, and I was like, there's no way I'm doing this thing again. And then I guess I was prepared to give it another try. Was I skeptical? Lily, do you remember? Was I skeptical? I don't actually remember. I think I actually quite liked the idea of.
You were like, why do I need
right. This? Yeah, I think I was, why do I need it? I think I did like the idea of being able to have one of my meals replaced by a shake, because anything which is easy just sounded good to me. So I was excited about having one less meal to prepare and being able to have a shake. But yeah, skeptical. What will it really do? Will it serve me? How will it help me? Whatever. I have to be honest, like when I don't miss it when I don't have it. And I can't say weight wise or even the way I feel that I feel a huge difference. I have to be honest. I like it when I have it. It fills me up and it's easy for me. So I just like knowing that I've just had a healthy meal and I've got all the nutrition I need and I feel full and satisfied. And generally the way my day works is I only end up having breakfast at around 11 or 12. And then I have the very same 2 eggs, 2 light spelt toasts and salad. And then that really fills me. And often I don't end up eating lunch till 4 o'clock. Well, this is actually my lunch. I haven't eaten anything since that breakfast at 12 because I've had a crazy day. So this is now my lunch. And I'm making sure that I will not, I'm not going to then say I'm going to have dinner at 10. This is going to be it, with a piece of chicken or something as well. And then, and some veggies, and then I'll be dinner and done. So I just like having the convenience of being able to switch it in. And what I've been doing now, I've played around at some point. A few weeks ago, I was very stuck and plateauing, and I did it for dinner every night because I thought we'd had it for dinner. And I drink it early, then I'll lose weight, but I didn't. I was losing 1 pound a week, but it didn't shift things further. I went through a phase of having it at breakfast, and I tried to have an earlier breakfast and then having my stable breakfast for lunch type of thing. Didn't see a difference. And now I've just been having it. I don't have a snack, and I have it as my lunch, whenever lunch is. And that, I don't know why, if it's anything to do with that, but then I all of a sudden lost 5 pounds over the last couple of weeks. And I told you that I'd lost 40 pounds, but then the next day I'd lost another 2. So I've now lost 42, which for English people, anyone English here, that's 3 stone. So that was another, I was very excited about getting to 40 pounds, then 42, which is 3 stone, and 44, which is then 20 kilos. So I feel like I'm hitting 3 milestones all very close together. So it's all very exciting.
Well, I'm so happy that you're so honest about your Shakeology experience, because when I want people to always understand that we don't prep people when we ask them these questions, right? We would just want you to give your honest answers. But one of the things I always find about Shakeology is having it at the right time of day for me, and that moment in my life is always key. Right? Like sometimes it needs to be the snack, or it needs to be dinner, or it needs to be breakfast, or it needs to be lunch. And it has to do with, like you said, where you are emotionally. Like if that's the meal you'd be skipping, or if that's, the area where you wouldn't be eating well, it fills the gap with this perfect dose of dense nutrition. That's super easy. And I think that's really like, superfoods and all that aside, that's the gift of it as well.
I'd love if you have a few minutes, and I don't think there are any more questions in the chat box.
So feel free to tell us when you do.
I can't. I mean, my thing starts at 8:30. Yeah.
Okay, so I think a lot of both old and new to bunnies here would love to know, at different markers of your journey, what were some mindset shifts that maybe sometimes got you to the next place? Or very often, like so many of us have said, we've dieted often in our lives. What turned this for you? What mindset shift, or what aha moment, or what realization turned this from maybe not looking at it as a diet, but something that was working? I mean, I love what you said in the beginning, but actually looking and seeing that there is no trick. It's not like, oh, it's easier for some people. It's not like, oh, well, they can lose the weight because X, Y, Z, and that's not my circumstances. Like, no, we say all the time, it's not necessarily easy. It could be hard. Like, change is hard, but waking up and not having anything to wear, or waking up and not feeling good about yourself, or not having the energy to do something with your kids, that's also hard. And it comes down to choosing your hard. So you chose your hard, but of course there's still more hards during the journey. So what were I'd love to hear some mindset shifts that you felt along the way.
So I think first of all, again, right. So I think first of all, just about taking things slowly. One mindset shift was, I'm not trying to do this fast. Okay. I'm not trying to, I'd rather be at the weight I want to be in 3 years' time than having lost it in a year and be back at a higher weight in 3 years' time, which could easily happen. So saying that, even if it just really talking to myself when the weight was only falling off at 1 pound a week, and feeling, listening to Ilana talking about what the average weight loss is, and thinking at my weight, I should definitely be at the higher end of losing weight, to say, okay, just be patient. It's still going off. It's one at a time. And even if I'm plateauing, trying to also be not judgmental, but looking at my tracker and looking at what could I do differently. And the honest truth is, I really haven't figured that one out, meaning I've lost this weight the last couple of weeks. I haven't done anything differently that I know of. So my tracker looks the same as it was before, and if anything, I've drank less. I wasn't having such a great time drinking, and all of a sudden so I'm not doing so well at really knowing what's contributing, but still just being patient, taking it slow. That's one thing. remembering Lily saying something to me that was a big shift for me early on. I remember saying one day when I'd eaten late and saying I was starving, and Lily saying you're not starving, you're only starving if, even after a fast for 24 hours, you might be very hungry, you're fasting, but you're not starving, and starting to pay attention to the words that I use and the story that I'm telling myself. So I think that was a shift. I remember that being a sort of an aha moment of paying attention to that.
As your coach,
I
one thing
guess
you just said a minute ago when you said taking time for yourself now, that's a priority for you. When we were first working together, even stopping for any food ever during work hours was almost non-negotiable for you. But like, you don't understand, I just have zero time.
Right. So making time to make food for me. I never usually made food for myself. Another mindset shift, what was I going to say? There was something else. So definitely the difference between the all or nothing, that I can get back on, that there is no wagon, that it's just, this is how it is, and that it's not, sort of looking at being able to hold on to that moment or the craving or the desire, and just holding with that feeling, and it's okay to feel that feeling and that desire and not always act on it. And I guess the whole inyan of like emotional eating, environmental eating, that was also something which really spoke about with me, and realizing for me how environment is so huge. Like what I eat on Shabbat is so different to what I eat in the week, and it's so environmental. And also I guess to have in terms of the mindset of just accepting, like last night I went out and I said to myself, I don't need to eat, it's Motzei Shabbat, I never normally eat on Motzei Shabbat, I have a Shakeology after Shabbos and that's it. And yet the food was on the table and I did eat, not necessarily bad choices, but whereas maybe again I would have beaten myself up about that, realizing when food is on the table in front of me, even if I sometimes set myself and say I'm not going to do something, so you could say I'm setting myself up for failure, but in this situation, maybe not looking at it as failure, saying, okay, I'm human, and there was food there, and it looked good, and but I didn't have 5 things, I only had 1 thing, and that's okay, and the scale hasn't gone up the next day, so we're doing okay. So I
think that's really big. Things. For anybody who remembers when I did the 80-pound weight loss call, and said the last phase, really, of when you get into a good place of this, the first stage is like learning and really trying things out and being curious and getting over the negative. And the second one is control, learning that you need to control yourself and you need to get up and you need to prep and you need to do these things and get yourself to do them. But the last stage is surrender. That, wow, like I don't have to be perfect, like screw perfect. I like exactly what you said. I just want the weight to be off in 3 years. And the only way for that to happen is to me to be okay with new challenges, new struggles, seeing an old struggle come back in a new way and being ready to like overcome it again in a new level. They always say, you have big success, you got bigger problems. And I found that to be absolutely true with my weight loss, in that things that I was so numb to, overweight, thinner, are much bigger deals because I feel them more fully. So even things I conquered in my weight loss come back and I feel them differently now and need to be conquered in a different way. The same way managing a small amount of money versus managing a larger amount of money. It's the same challenges, but they're completely different. What's a challenge that maybe you used to face that you didn't even notice was a challenge that now is a challenge for you? I'm sure there's still challenges.
Challenge that I used to face regarding eating or in life?
It could be like, listen, like you never had the challenge of making time to work out before because working out wasn't even on the table.
Right.
Like there's new challenges now that you take for granted because you have a different lifestyle.
I think I still have. I think for me, time management is always going to be a challenge, whether it be exercising or making taking time to prep food or to eat and not wait till 8 p.m. to eat my lunch. So I would say that still is my challenge. But I'm working with it and not finding it difficult.
surrendering that that's the challenge, and you'll continue to flow and adjust and figure it out. And we're all going to look at ourselves and see that we have a challenge, whether it's a feeling of worthiness, and when you struggle with one thing, feeling worthy of your good diet, whether it's time management, whether it's family relationships that, like you're just always having drama in one relationship or another, or money in your family is always the tension, or there's a health crisis, or a sibling, or your children. Like, everybody has their thing. Any questions in the chat box before Gabrielle has to go?
Chat box or not chat box, anything specific?
Yeah, you
guys want to
unmute it and talk here.
You can unmute and ask.
But you have somebody who's really done a great job also. What was your average weight loss per week? 1 to 2 pounds, right? The whole time.
Recently, yeah. At the beginning, there were weeks with more, but I think also I was sick at some point at the beginning, so that was good. But lately, it's been on average 1 or 2 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a week here or there that it was 3, and maybe once or twice 4.
Can you share for like a minute? Because again, like you had mentioned, when we say the journey is not all just like that, you will have your this. How did you deal mindset wise? Again, when Alana speaks about using the tracker as a tool and the scale as a tool, and we've all had that emotional pull and struggle and frustration with the scale. So with your consistent weight loss, I'm sure days where you stepped on the scale and actually the number went up, and it may or may not have made sense, especially when you couldn't think about why it makes, anything like that. How did you then emotionally?
Hard. It's hard. I definitely saved one of the pictures that came up in the group of non-scale victories. Yeah, and that was important for me. I have taken measurements on a monthly, so to focus that even if the weight was going slowly, to see that the centimeters or inches are going down. But it's not easy. The scale still, I do a dance. I step on very carefully and play around till I see the number that I want to see. And if it's not the number I want to see, I go on it numerous times till I get it. So that still isn't easy if it's not saying what I want it to see. But again, I'm learning to say it's just, I'm tracking it, and I ate well, and I know I did. And again, so I'll see it tomorrow, I'll see it the next day, or I'll see it the day after. So I'm just, but that's constant work. That's daily work.
That's constant work. And that's also where your consistency comes in, because if you don't see what you were looking for that day, then I always love the phrase of, what's the alternative? You can stay consistent and then the next day see what you were looking for, or decide that, forget about it, and then what's the alternative? To have a self-fulfilling prophecy and for sure have it go up,
Yeah.
That's always, I think, a very big thing, is believing in the power of how consistency compounds. And that's where we have to have that ability of, yes, using the tracker and the scale as a tool, but also having that ability to zoom out of seeing the weight loss for the week of the 1 to 2 pounds. It sometimes could be more, sometimes can be less, but that includes fluctuation, and it includes being consistent.
And I'll say one other thing that I took on starting to learn Daf Yomi this cycle, which is something I've never done before, ever. I haven't learned Gemara. And again, during Corona, there was a couple of weeks where I fell out of the routine. We weren't in our normal routine. So there's a window of time when I was always used to listen to it. I wasn't listening to it. And there is no way without 2B that I would have carried on. In my previous me, I would have stopped. I'd have looked after 2 weeks of having, 5, 6, 8 dapim, however many that I had to catch up on. I would have said, that's it. It's another thing that I failed with and I can't keep up with. And I'm someone who can't keep these day-to-day yummy things. And instead I said to myself, you know what? I can. I wrote down the pages I'm missing. I thought, even if I never learn those dapim, I think after 7 years, if I stick with it most of the time, I can say that I've done daf yomi. And I literally then got back on, found a new time in a new routine, and I did it. And I really attribute that to this mindset, because there is no way that I would have done that. In normal me, I'd have just packed it up and said, okay, I haven't done it, I failed. And here I'm saying, no, I haven't failed. I can stick with it. I can move on. I don't have to throw it all up in the air. And so that's a big thing for me.
That's beautiful. And I'd also ask then, have you felt that it's different in your coaching, in your business, when you're helping kalut, when you're talking about intimacy? Do you feel like you have a different perspective on that now?
That's interesting. I definitely have used a lot of analogies to do with, use food and desire and the moment before, the moment during, the moment after, how we respond, and connected that with two areas of my work. In my work with people who stutter, one of my specialisms is working with people who stutter. So when I talk about the moment before stuttering, during and after, a lot of things that I've listened to, I bring into that, and also to do with intimacy. So yeah, I have brought it into other areas of my life.
So I love what, look, I love what you said about you were able to do something because of so much what you learned with 2B. And this is something I think we might have brought it up in another call before, which is it can work both ways. Sometimes when you feel so stuck or frustrated, maybe in this journey of weight loss, and the way we speak to ourselves so often, and we'll all say, and we all know the line, would you speak to a loved one the way you talk to yourself or not? And then if you would actually do the opposite and look at other skill sets of yours in life, professionally, familial, like other things that you do, there are actually skills there and things that you do successfully in other areas that if you just stop for a moment, you realize you can also apply to this, not even just taking this and apply it to other things in life, which is incredible and amazing, but realize, no, I can't call myself a lazy person. I can't call myself someone who can't succeed. I can't call myself somebody who doesn't prep anything in advance or never manages my time. You show up to your clients on time. You show up to, other things, like so many things like that. And I feel like it's so important to realize that we are such complex beings with so many things going on in our lives, especially as women, that we can take our skill sets from other areas and say, yes, I can do this.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you.
Last question is, I think a lot of people have a different aspect to their intimacy as they've lost weight. As somebody who's also an intimacy coach, people get concerned, I'm going to view my body differently, my spouse views my body differently. Any words of wisdom, as somebody who's had a 40-pound weight loss and somebody who knows how to speak to this area, to give to people on how to relate to that beauty and the change in perspective?
I think it's about learning to love your body, whatever size it is. I know people say that as a cliche, but it really is true. In terms of from the intimacy coach perspective, realizing that first of all, we love ourselves. Our love for ourselves sort of permeates to those people around us, to our children, to our spouses. But again, our spouses are loving us. They're loving what's inside. They're loving who we are, and our body goes with that. And it's not about size or what we look like or anything like that. It's our body changes over time, and it's us who they're connecting with. And I think, again, when we approach weight loss from a perspective of love and not hate, I think that's also so powerful. And when we're not trying to deny ourselves something, and we're not trying to do it because we're so miserable, we're doing it because we love ourselves, and therefore we want to feed ourselves good food and we want to exercise. I think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly said, that whenever, I speak to clients, and part of the emotional eating is a lack of intimacy in life in general with their spouse, because they have a lack of confidence with their body and they think that losing weight will fix that. I want to be super clear that while you will talk to, I think, anybody who's lost weight with 2B and say that the intimacy is better, it's because it came from that place of recognizing the person in the mirror more and more as lovable, and therefore being more open to love and intimacy. And when you come to it from that perspective, when it comes to thinking about your goal weight or your goal size, you always have to own, yes, I have a weight goal, but you have to think more of what's my spirit animal, almost, of that weight goal. Like, who am I at that weight? Not what is my body going to exactly look like, because you have no idea. How many times have we achieved a weight goal? We're like, oh, I totally thought I would look different at this weight than I do. And
Right.
so really,
Or again, or even just the way our weight, when you know, I think even now, today I'd got up a pound from Shabbat. But I was thinking, so today I was disappointed to see that weight. But when I saw that weight last week, and it was the first time I saw that weight, I was so excited. So it's just so funny how our perspective changes depending on where we are on the journey. So it's about just trying to start to learn to love the small parts of our, you know, looking at your body in the mirror and finding the pieces that you can love, and starting to try and love more and more and more, whatever the size it is, and loving it because it's you and it's part of the unique person that you are.
And I think what's so important to add to that also, like you said, it's so important to love ourselves and who we are internally. And yes, just like you can see people out there in the world, you can have thin people who are miserable. So that's how you know it's not just about your size. It's so much other things of accepting about yourself, because you may not be happy. Like when Lily said, you're not just chasing a number, you're chasing a feeling, which very often you start realizing comes even before you hit that number that you were chasing. Right. So it's so important also to realize that you can love yourself and love certain ways that you want to feel and still want to be changing at the same time. Right. Loving yourself doesn't mean, that's it, I'm done, I love myself, and that means I can't also want to change in certain areas. They're not mutually exclusive. And I think that's the beauty of 2B and doing this in a healthy way.
Yeah, I agree. I have to run. I'm really sorry.
Thank you so much, Gabrielle. We only have 2 minutes left.
Great.
Can't wait for our coffee date. Follow up with me with the time. Guys, wasn't that inspiring?
Yes, I will.
Wasn't that inspiring? We have 2 minutes left. Aura, Daria, Becky, Devora, Seema, Rina. Come on, guys who are old school. Rena and Alana, you guys who are newer, Jude, feel free to jump in, but get off mute. Last minute, what did you think? Were you inspired? Was it
anybody have anybody? Or we'll just call you out in the group.
Go ahead, Daria's unmuted. Daria's unmuted. Go ahead.
Hi. Sorry, I had to come late because I had a doctor's phone visit thing. Anyway, the thing that I related to most, that I know I've said in this group a bunch of times, is what she said about applying the 2B, way of life, the mindset to other things, and it really resonated what she said about I'm not the kind of person who, or I used to give up when, and honestly, like I'm facing, I know I'm like, know that I have no time to speak, so I'm a little stuttering. I faced some really big parenting challenges over the last couple weeks, and they seem to keep spiraling, becoming bigger. And
we can come back on the call, by the way, to finish hearing this, because we're going to get kicked off. So.
Yeah, guys, we're going to run out of time, so it's going to shut down automatically. Click back on the same link, and that way we'll be able to continue.
And it won't be recorded, so you can open up and be as free with your personal revelations.
Clicking back in is bonus. Clicking back in is bonus time. It's not going to be recorded.